Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a special guest all the way out in Bangalore, India, working on a really cool project in the DeFi space. We have Abhishek with Comdex. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Richard. Thank you for having me here. It's really nice of you to, cover us as well.
No doubt, man. Well, eager to learn more about Comdex, but before we do, want to learn more about you and your background. Can you give some background on yourself?
Sure. So, guys, I'm Abhishek. I'm an engineer by trade. I've been in the crypto space in 2013. I started with just moving around Bitcoin talks and, had my own Ethereum mining rig as well. So I was an Ethereum miner for a very long time. And then, from a career perspective, moved into e-commerce, had a couple of US clients which I worked with, and then finally took the plunge in, building a project full time in 2019. Was externally supporting Comdex earlier on, but then started in 2019 as the CTO for Comdex. And in the beginning of this year, when we started building the Synthetix Protocol for Comdex, took over as the CEO, and now here I am.
Wow. Talk about a absolute journey to getting to where you are, right? So working in the e-commerce space as a developer all the way into becoming a CTO and then evolving into a CEO is quite the journey. But, what was that first introduction to the crypto space in the first place?
In the first place, I think in 2013, right? We were just looking out of curiosity. I remember I was back in college, and computer science was one of our subjects, and I was just, finding what is this BTC, how does blockchain work. And then back then there were so many BTC casinos, was just seeing how that thing works, how do they make it frugally fair. Of course, back then I didn't know we'll reach here. But then it was so interesting and, it caught my interest. Then slowly when Ethereum got launched and, I'm a big fan of, gaming PCs, building hardware. So I started building a mining rig as a hobby, but then that became like a very big hobby in general and built a very, very big mining rig. So it's just a start of interest, I think. I can't really put a date to it, this is why I'm into it, but then it just happened to me, I believe.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really cool that you've been in the space for around 8 years or so, just knowing about it and then finding ways to get involved. I know you said Ethereum was your first kind of dive into really getting deeper into it, but even just seeing how much the space has evolved since when you first got in, I'm sure it's been its own journey, but kind of talk to us about why would you leave e-commerce and kind of go more into the crypto space? What was it about Comdex that made you pull away and say, like, this is what I need to be doing right now?
Absolutely. So, in e-commerce, if you look at the United States as a market, many of the traditional companies, they started, seeing decline in sales and they started calling it the Amazon effect. The primary reason was, their supply chains weren't as efficient as, with their bigger competitors. Although these companies have been around for over 150 years in the US, but they recently filed for bankruptcy. So, it was very challenging for us on the ground because, we deliver our best as people on the ground and, try to make that project successful. But then when it fails, you wonder why did it really fail and how could things have been done better. And Comdex at that time was building something in the supply chain space, for the enterprise trading platform. They were building how to track the commodities that get transported on ships by tokenizing the bill of lading. So it really caught my interest, and I wanted to be, doing something, to gain, to make the whole supply chain more efficient. And this is why, I just jumped into it, saying, this is what I have to do.
Awesome. So just going from e-commerce and kind of like you said, to seeing the Amazon effect and just seeing like how do you kind of democratize the supply chain side of things, that's where Comdex kind of came into being. So give us an overall understanding of like what it has evolved to today and how users are beginning to interact with it.
Absolutely. So, Comdex started with, so Comdex basically means Commodity Decentralized Exchange. And we started primarily to focus on the enterprise traders. So commodities, it's been around us for so long, it's a 1400-year-old industry, but, we kind of don't notice it as much because it's not so exciting. But it's a 17 trillion market where, it's like the lifeblood of the whole of economy. And we started, approaching a lot of traders in Singapore, trying to understand what their problems were. So these traders, they don't have a lot of products being built for them because it's not someone you will see not a lot of Web2 startups, building solutions for these parties. From a client perspective, all of these traders, SMEs, MSMEs, they do over $1 billion worth of trading. In a year, but very maybe in the shadows, if you would call it, but it's not too prominent because the retailers don't get a part of it. So we started asking them what their problems were, and how we could help them. And so we started with tokenizing bills of lading, where when the commodity is on a ship, it gets traded close to 15 to 16 times before it lands on the other side of the port. So we wanted to create a platform for them where they could, track ownership and then also track the same commodity right from the place where it got, boarded on the ship till it gets landed on the other end. So, and of course, then there is KYC involved for all the counterparties. You would want to track, if the ship has been on a sanctioned country in the previous 20 ports that has been to be gone to. So we built this complete suite of solutions for the enterprise traders, and we onboarded 18 clients across Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. And they put in trade workflows over $160 million on our platform. We're currently working on building a settlement platform on the settlement on the platform by connecting it through Western Union. And that kind of requires a license with the MSA, so which we are working upon to enable settlement, where they would not have to leave the platform ever to complete one complete trade. And post that, during COVID, we figured out everyone needs financing. Even these big traders, they rely on trade financing funds to kind of bankroll these commodity players, because in commodities the margin is very less because the price discovery for all commodities has already happened. So whoever has the best credit line kind of, wins in the game. This is why we started building, a financing solution for these players. And that kind of gave birth to the Synthetix Protocol that we're building now. So in the Synthetix Protocol, we will have both kinds of users. One set of users who will just, trade commodity synthetics. We will begin with, synthetic gold, silver, and oil. And once we are speaking to a couple of Oracle providers to add more price feeds for agri-commodities, which we saw most of our traders were trading. They were primarily trading soybean and palm oil. So once we get those price feeds in and enable leverage on the platform, we would ideally want to integrate the enterprise side of the trading, because all these traders, whenever they open a position, they have to hedge it immediately, so that because their trade cycles are close to 120, 180 days. So we would want these traders to ideally just, take that hedge on the new Synthetix Protocol itself.
Right.
So this is where we are. We did our mainnet, on 20th November, and we are hoping to get listed soon on Osmosis.
That's awesome, man. There's a lot to unpack there. So just to do a quick recap. So Comdex stands for Commodities Dex. You're going after a $17 trillion market. Want to make sure that everyone heard that, about a $17 trillion market cap that I don't think is really being looked at in this space just yet. So it kind of feels like you are pretty much a big mover. A lot of traditional finance investors, this is where they start, right? This is where a lot of them get their first play in the trading world before they start moving on to other things. And so a lot of them should have some familiarity with being able to do this. And the fact that you are able to create Synthetix, which, you're able to, trade a lot of these commodities using Synthetix is really powerful and cool. And the other thing, I just wanted to ask you, so I know that you built this on top of Cosmos. Was there a reason that you built this on this ecosystem as compared to some others?
So to be honest, back in 18, when we were designing stuff, we knew when we were creating NFTs of bills of lading, right? So for a token to have so much data to identify a real world asset, we need to put in a lot more data. And if we kind of do it on Ethereum, it becomes super costly just to mint that NFT. So this is why we stuck to Cosmos. And then, of course, we're big fans of interoperability, although back then it wasn't there. It came in this February. But, we're very bullish on the ecosystem also because of the way it operates. All the major Cosmos ecosystem players, they come together, discuss what should be the next set of developments. And it's a very decentralized ecosystem. And a lot of people don't know, but it kind of is. Cosmos SDK is used to build Terra, BNB, and so many big projects. But it doesn't deserve the recognition. It hasn't got the recognition it deserves. But we're super bullish on the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, I think Cosmos is a sleeping giant. One day it's going to wake up and people are going to be like, "What happened?" But the people who are in and see it already get it. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that for a second. But Cosmos is definitely a really amazing ecosystem, and the community there is very strong and helps each other. So I like that as well. So kind of going back to someone that's listening to this right now, let's say it's a traditional investor that got into the crypto trade and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is like my bread and butter. I used to do this." What does the process look like to be able to come on the platform and start using it?
So our Synthetix Protocol, will get launched mostly during January 2022, and it'll be a very simple transaction site where I'm not sure if you guys have used Osmosis, but it's very similar to that. You get IBC-enabled assets on our chain and use them as collateral to mint commodities Synthetix. So let's say if a user has Atom in his Kepler wallet, through one of the IBC channels, they will bring it on the Comdex application and lock that Atom up and mint, let's say, a synthetic gold, which they can provide to a liquidity pool and enable trading. And obviously, to incentivize this behavior, we have CMDX liquidity mining rewards for these users as well. In the future, what we will be aiming to do, with CeFi, we do realize, right, this over collateralization, long term becomes very tricky. But if you look at how it operates in the real world, when people are approaching, funds for financing, they use the invoice and the bill of lading itself as collateral to get that loan. So since we already have those NFTs being built on the enterprise platform, we would be trying to use them, the real world assets itself, as collateral to mint and provide liquidity to these traders. So that's like the overall vision to achieve with CeFi. But yes, in the first version, get your Atom here, lock it up in a vault, mint commodity Synthetix, gain liquidity mining rewards, and enable trading of synthetic assets.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because another element that I want to kind of unpack and get, see what your thoughts are on this. With something like being able to trade synthetic commodities, whether it's a bull market or a bear market, there should be opportunity for gains, right? So we've been in this bullish cycle for quite a while. It might be extended, it might be ending soon. Who really knows? But all the same, we know that we're getting towards the end of a cycle. And as we get into bearish opportunities, there's ways that traders have to be able to leverage and find other ways to keep being able to find some opportunities. And commodities have always been a solid place to go look. Do you think that this platform is going to be positioned, whether we're in bullish or bearish territory, to like thrive?
It's a very good point, Richard. What we are also calling it is an all-weather DeFi, because if you look at historically, commodities have been the most inflation-resistant asset class that you can buy into. And even trade finance for commodities, it has less than 1% default rate in the world. So this is such a safe asset class, and with in crypto, so with the bull market running so well, a lot of people have so much wealth that they created, which they would want to protect during the bear market and get stable returns from the real world assets. So I think Comdex would be a great solution for them for just gaining 10%, 12% returns stably from real world backed assets, and then of course it gets boosted from the native token as well. So we really think, all-weather DeFi, obviously during a bull run, it's difficult to compete with, 100 and 1,000% APY or whatever people are offering. But during the bear market, and if it's real, if it's backed by real-world assets, then it's so scalable that, we don't have to worry about how will we incentivize after 4 years. Or if you look at any token which uses itself to incentivize, it kind of become very tricky, post all of that supply gets depleted. people struggle to continue giving those APYs. But in a product like Comdex, we will not be struggling since our, it's such a huge market. Of course, we would want many other players to step in as well. But scalability is not an issue. And I think this is the best answer for all the DeFi.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And on that, as we look at the world of DeFi and just how much it's evolved through the years. So of course, last year was the DeFi summer and everything else, and we're starting to see the market evolve even into more things between NFTs and metaverse and a bunch of other stuff. Why do you think it's still essential that people are diversified into decentralized finance and are continuing to build in this space?
Of course, if you look at, how things are evolving and how the future might look like, of course, we don't know, but everything is kind of being replicated digitally, right? With the metaverse coming. And, my own opinion is that each of these elements that are being created now, they will all serve that purpose perpetually throughout when everything happens digitally. For let's say if it is about commodities, Comdex people will just approach digitally on Comdex to approach this. In my opinion, BTC will be the money for that ecosystem, because then it will have no other role instead of being just called money. So it's really great, with new games coming up as well. It's very exciting where people are they're trying to make earn money by playing games, which was like everyone's childhood dream, but it's now really happening. So I'm really bullish on that, and of course we might see this cycle getting extended way long because of this, because there's so much more innovation that's been happening in so many different domains that there's so much space to grow. Previously, it was very few dApps you built on Ethereum, and that was all about it. 2017 ICOs, most of them they didn't deliver, but now people are looking at delivery. People are looking at how things have to. Also, from a regulatory standpoint, we're seeing a lot of how the taxation has to take place, etc. And that is so important for this to truly scale into a maybe. I think before the cycle ends, I think we should be seeing a 4-5 trillion market cap for the whole ecosystem.
Wouldn't be upset at that. And I don't think the rest of the market would either. It's a lot of excitement in this space, and things are really building up, man. Like, people are really starting to see the practicality of being able to take a lot of what's being used in regular world to the blockchain and being able to optimize and provide a lot more just fluidity as well as transparency and quickness to a lot of things that are kind of bottlenecked in a lot of ways that don't have to be. And it's allowing more freedom and more opportunity for your everyday person. As you kind of just look at the greater crypto ecosystem, again, the end of 2020 to right now, we've been in a pretty bullish, awesome, fun time. But we've also endured some bear markets. We know when it gets bad, it can be bad. But as far as price, as far as that's concerned, but as you look out into the future, what do you think is in store in the crypto space for the next 2 to 3 years? Like, what do you think will be a really big indicator of like what's to come in this space?
I think one big indicator would be if when identity on blockchain comes around, and the second one would be if people build simple taxation structures for. Since all these products are like truly global, right? It's about the one world vision in a way. But if truly at the end of the day, people streamline these processes with some regulatory bodies, you will see insane adoption, in the next 2-3 years. And this is what we are betting on also, because like you said, right, it becomes so seamless, removes all the bottlenecks. But that comes as a price, because now few people will start worrying about regulations, etc. But if that becomes very supporting of of the whole concept in general, which a lot of people are now becoming with a lot of institutional money coming in, I think next 2-3 years, as more number of traditional investors come in the space, I think it will truly grow big.
Yeah, I agree. And regulation is just a matter of time. But like, getting to a point where I like the kind of way that you phrased it, like a universal tax. So where like, it's just all of that's already being taken care of. Everyone understands, like, if I do these transactions, this is what I need to put. I can add this to any country that I'm in. Here, I'm putting this aside for taxation or whatever it is. And now everyone's happy. You can move faster. Now there's a lot of hesitation because there's a lot of uncertainty and we don't know how things are going to be regulated. But as soon as we are given the blueprint of like, these are this is the fence that you're allowed to play in, like things are going to explode. Right. So, and again, like you said, institutional players, like true institutional money is waiting for, I think, those guidelines. And once that comes, you're going to just see the floodgates open. And, I think we're either a couple months to a couple years away from that, which is still very exciting. Like it's a much smaller timeline than what it used to be.
Absolutely. Since we're kind of involved in both in the traditional finance space and the in the DeFi space as well, we see a lot of people, they want to be, participating, but then kind of these hurdles, they stop them from, deploying capital or, going all in. But then we're seeing, a lot of adoption where funds are trying to accept stablecoin for their subscription as well. So when few things like this, become mainstream, it'll be very simple for users to, come on board and invest in products which they could not, because all the bottlenecks that you spoke about, just imagine a normal retail investor cannot directly just invest in, commodity trade finance. Although it's such a safe asset class to invest in, but then he will find to have some mutual fund or some other subscription where he does not know where the exact money is being deployed. On projects like ours, then you get that full transparency that you put in this one USD and it travels through all these ecosystems. And finally, that exact trader got funded because of your dollar. So this kind of power, this kind of transparency, it truly has to be adopted. People want it as well because all the institutional players, whenever any default happens, those are the biggest losers when some default happens, right? So they also want this technology to be adopted. And I certainly think, next 2-3 years will be huge for the whole of the ecosystem.
Definitely. And I appreciate that sentiment, man. And again, you've given us a lot to think about, but kind of as we wrap up here, I always like to finish with 2 fun questions. The first being, with all the information that you have right now, after being in the space and just learning all of the lessons that you've had to learn, if you can impart 1 to 2 pieces of wisdom to yourself when you first got involved in the space, what would you tell yourself?
I would say maybe not look at price, just focus on building. Because when we started, when you start any activity, the first thing people come and think about profits or how much are you going to make at the end of the day. But if you knew something like this, whatever has happened this year is so insane. Because there was no shortage of money for anyone to make anything. You build anything out and then, you get compensated for it. So people should, I think, focus on building instead of thinking, how they would make money out of it. But that is what I would say, all the other builders out there, because there's no shortage of capital around in the world. There's a shortage of people who are building good stuff.
Yeah, no, that is a gem. That was a first on the show. Everyone go back, re-listen to that. It's important, especially to all the builders out there. So I really appreciate that sentiment, man. But as we wrap up here, what is a final thought that you want to leave with all the listeners today?
Final thoughts, would be, always, this ecosystem is all about community. So, always focus on, helping each other out and, just helping, no matter if they are from your projects or not. Just, I think people should in general make crypto community as big as the whole world at some point in time, and should always help each other out to, build better projects together. Because I think together we will be able to succeed and, get to the vision that we are aiming for.
Absolutely. Absolute great final thought. What are ways that people can connect with you and learn more about Comdex?
The simplest would be, to go to our Telegram chat. It's a very good community that we have here, very interactive. It's the Comdex official chat. Then I can also be reached on Twitter, responsive to everyone. It's not a difficult man to reach at all.
Gotcha. Well, Abhishek, I really do appreciate you spending some time with us today. And of course, for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.